Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement and the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, It's the Popo.
Yes, sir.
What's up, my guy?
I can't call it, man. You know, we're recording on a Saturday today, so I get to go watch the Buckeyes. So I'm excited about that. Not watch them in person, but watch them on TV and show my support to the, number one team, soon to be champions. So
Come on, man.
I can't call it.
Come on now.
But
Come on.
I think you made a mistake with the intro, Ryan.
Well, how I make the mistake?
I don't think you gave yourself the appropriate title.
Oh, you're going to go there. You're going to go there.
I think it's like chief. You're a chief now. You're Chief Ryan.
No. Far from
Deputy
that.
chief, sheriff, president, something like that. You up there? Man. Go ahead, tell the world, Ryan. Tell the world the news.
Well, we're gonna get into current events. I guess I can tell the world the news. So recently, man, I was blessed with the opportunity of being promoted to Corporal Tillman. So I am got upgraded. I got upgraded a notch in my day job, man. So it was nothing but a blessing, man, on Thursday. So if you guys didn't know, about probably like 4 or 5 months ago, I went through the testing process for my first promotion. And if you guys aren't familiar with the promotion process in law enforcement, it can be pretty strenuous. It's a big decision because not only are you trying to move up in the structure of your department, but there's a lot of studying that goes into it, a lot of long nights and things like that. So this is the first time I've ever tested for it. And once you test through it, if you pass the testing successfully, then they put you on a list. And then at that point in time, it's just up to your chief or not, or whether or not they want to promote you or not. So I was blessed, man. The chief got a phone call on Thursday and asked if I could meet the chief, man. And I met with him, and he handed me a badge that said corporal. And so it's bittersweet, man. I'm excited,
yes,
man. It is nothing but a blessing, but it's bittersweet because on the downside of it, that also means that I will have to be coming out of the schools. So I'll no longer be a school resource officer. So, it's great, man. Nothing but a blessing, man. I love, if you're not a school resource officer out there, if you've never thought about being a school resource officer, I really highly encourage you to do it, man. Unfortunately, man, there's a bad stigma associated with being a school resource officer. People just assume that, officers go there to retire on duty. People go there if they have, they have some type of angst against the department or whatever. Man, being a school resource officer is probably one of the most resourceful, rewarding, and impactful positions you will ever have as a police officer. Because think about it, man. You are literally impacting the next generation directly. And not only are you impacting the students that go to your school, but you get familiar with their parents, their grandparents, their cousins. And so one of the most beneficial parts that I'm looking forward to is that when I do go back to patrol, I'm going to have relations that nobody else in my department has, because I've had dealings with all these students, not just at my school, but school district wide. So it's a bittersweet moment, man. Like I said, the school resource officer position was great. I just found out yesterday, and I'm going to do some more research, but somebody told me that I guess at my department, I'm like the first person to ever be promoted out of the school resource officer position. So
look at him.
From an encouragement standpoint, I say that to say this, is don't ever sell yourself short. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Don't ever let anybody give you bad advice. If they think that they're giving you good advice and you think it's bad advice, listen to that spirit, because it was been said like, hey, you shouldn't go to SRO spot. It's a career killer. You'll go there, you're not going to succeed there. Man, don't ever let nobody tell you that, because what you do with whatever position you go in, what you do with that is what you do with it. So if you go there and you turn that position out, can't nobody say nothing about it. Like, you can compete. I was living proof of that, man. Like, the mere fact that I was blessed to get promoted out of that spot, it just was one of those things. I went there and made that a spot that, and me and my partner, man, I would be remiss if I didn't mention him, but my partner that's also SRO with me, man, he and I, man, we really focused on turning that spot and making it a desirable one. So if you're somebody that's discouraged because somebody's telling you can't do something or you shouldn't do something, but you really have a passion for doing it, man, do it. Because if you have a passion, if you
100%.
have a passion to do it, your passion is going to shine through like anything else, and your passion is going to make that spot look like it's never looked before, man. So go for it, man.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I just posted that saying or that quote on Instagram, and I have no idea who it's from, so I'm not even going to try to make it up. But the person who believes that they can't do something and the person who believes that they can do something, they're both probably right. So get out there and get after it.
Exactly, man. So what else is going on in current events? What's up with you, AJ?
Man, I can't call it. I got a busy day today. We found a family, or we came across a family a few months ago. We found out that the 3-year-old in the family was burned. The boyfriend like dunked him in a tub full of like really hot water, and he's in jail right now, and they're going through like this big court case. So we really just been pouring into that family. But my man turns 4 today, and he is nothing but smiles. So as soon as we get done recording today, the wife and I are going to head down to the south side and go kick it with him and his family for a little bit. So we're excited about that.
Man, that's dope. And there's also, you going to have some big news tomorrow, right? Share with the world what big news we got coming tomorrow.
I'm going to announce we're having a baby boy tomorrow. That's what's going on.
Oh, and we might need to do a poll and see what the world thinks AJ's having.
Yeah, we definitely might. That's not a bad idea. No, tomorrow we're having a gender reveal party. So we went to the doctor, and we bought 4 cannons, and in each cannon is confetti.
Oh, that's
there's
what
blue
we did.
Confetti, and there's pink confetti, and we gave the cannons to the doctor. She found out what we were having, and then she marked whichever cannons we should use, and then taped them. That way we can't see the color of them. So the hard part is they've been sitting in my truck along with an envelope that has the sex of the unborn child. In the back of my truck for like 3 or 4 days, and it's been the hardest thing in my life not to look.
Duh, that's crazy. Like, you know, we did the same thing. That's dope. We did the same exact thing. I gotta go look at that video, but it was cool, man. I was like, man, it's crazy because my little girl, she's gonna be a year next month, so that time goes by fast, man. That time goes by really fast.
Yeah, we're excited. I tell you what, though, I want a healthy child. Like that's really all I want, but I never prayed for something so much in my life. Like you ever prayed a prayer that's kind of like you like bargaining with God? Like, hey, yeah. You ever prayed a prayer where you're like bargaining with God? Like look, God, all the time. If you do this, I'll be the best person in the whole wide world.
Hey, let me give you some word of advice though. Just when those things do ring out with pink confetti, your face better be happy, because if not, I'm gonna tell you now, your wife gonna be looking at you, and you gonna be sleeping in the doghouse, brother. If you like, like you just got that ugly Christmas sweater that your grandma gave you, but yet you gotta be like, oh, thank you, this is so nice. Yeah. I'm gonna wear it every day.
I already told her. I already like prepped her. I said, babe, just know that no matter what, I'm excited. Despite what happens tomorrow, I'm excited. Just don't yell at me in front of everybody.
Oh, man. Well, I wish me and the Savage could be out there, man. If we could be out there, we would be there with y'all to celebrate. But we'll be there in spirit, man. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, man. The Savage, I think he just told us today that his baby boy is 3 months old today. So he just showed us a video, man, and that is so cute, man. That little baby, precious little baby boy, man. So
cracking up,
man. So you know what's so dope, man, is like since we started this podcast, I feel like our families have grown together, but not just our families, but I feel like the listeners and viewers that follow us from the beginning, like I even feel like you guys are part of our family as well, because you guys have been here
for sure
on this journey with us from day one, and so you guys are seeing our growth. You guys are seeing the growth of our families. You know, I've reached out to some of you guys, so has AJ, when you guys have advice about something. So, you know, when we do this podcast, we're not just doing it for ourselves. We do it for all of you guys. I feel like we're one big family, man. So I just want to thank you guys for subscribing to this podcast. Like we talked about in the last one, it's been a year. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is me, AJ, and the Savage discuss. We're going to try to figure out how we can continue to make the podcast the best podcast that you guys want and with the content that you guys want. And so we've been throwing some ideas around. One of the ideas about that we've thought about is me and AJ, we already record twice a month. We may try to record maybe 3 times a month. We'll see. But in the meantime, as we keep it at 2 times a month, one of them will always be me and AJ with no special guests. Because we always get feedback when it's just AJ and I. but we want to now start to reach people on bigger platforms. And what I mean by that is no knock on anybody that's been on our podcast in the past, but we want to start going after people that have huge social media platforms, and we're going to kind of lead into that today. And the reason that is because as we get onto these bigger platforms, it's also going to help our message expand. And so if you truly believe in what we do and the work that we do, let us know who you guys would like to see us have as a guest on the podcast. And then we're also going to have to do some like strategic, guerrilla marketing together to basically reach out to those people to get their attention to join our podcast. Because what that does is it's not about having big names on our podcast. It's about having big names with influence. So that way we can leverage their platforms and spread our message. And that's what this is about, because like the name is called, it's needed. It's needed for a reason. And so I think that's the transition we're going to go with this next year. So, but shout out to you guys. You guys are phenomenal. The reviews you guys give us, man, I'm overwhelmed. I go look on, I don't want to tell the world my secret, but I'll be going on other people's podcasts, just kind of seeing how they doing. I'm like, we winning over here. What's your thoughts, AJ?
We big time winning. Oh yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And if you are a listener of the podcast and you run into one of us out in public or wherever, do not be afraid to like run up to us and talk to us and just let us know how you feel about the podcast. Even if it's bad, even if you want to tell us, hey, I don't like the podcast, it's trash. We appreciate you, dog. We appreciate you. But last night, I have a buddy in town from Boston, and I met him at a restaurant. And this young lady walks up to me, and she's like, oh, my goodness, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we take a picture. And in my head, I'm like, oh, she follows me on, like, Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or something like that. And we get talking, and she's like, I love the podcast. Like, I came across you from the podcast. I'm like, whoa, like, you should have led with that. And I'm, like, talking to her about the podcast. So yeah, if you see us out and about, like, definitely holler at us. Like, we y'all are family to us.
You know what's funny? I was working out last week, I think it was, and I mean, shout out to our fans. I love y'all. But I was like working out. I'm like in my zone trying to work out. So somebody comes up to me, he's like, "Hey man, like, how you doing, Ryan?" And I'm like, "What's up, man? Like, do I know you?" And he was like, "Man, like, I listen to your podcast." Like, he's like, "You don't know me, but I listen to your podcast." And in my mind, I'm like, man, shout out to y'all, man, for y'all just coming up. Man, I appreciate that, man. That we are a family. So if you got, like AJ said, if you guys do see us out there, man, say what's up. Like, I'm not on no Hollywood stuff, man. I'm about spreading the truth and just being who I am and stuff. So shout out to you guys.
And I'll put this out there. If you listen to this podcast, you have more juice than the average person when it comes to like contacting us and reaching out to us. Like, if you reach out to me on any of my social platforms and you let me know, like, yeah, I listen to the podcast, like, for me, that's a game changer. Like, I'm gonna reach out to you. Hey, I appreciate it. Give me some feedback. We gonna chop it up. So we mean that. Like, everyone who listens to this podcast, like, y'all are family for real. Yeah, like, we rock with y'all.
Real talk, man. So before we move further, let's go ahead, AJ. Go ahead and go with the Officer Down Memorial page so we know where we're at this week.
Yeah, so these numbers are not good this go around. So the last podcast we recorded was on September 21st, and we came in at 88. As of today, it's October 5th today, we're coming in at 94.
Wow.
So yeah. So I think that's what, 6. Within 2 weeks. So I'll go ahead and read these heroes' names. The first was going to be Deputy Chris Halsey of the Meade County Sheriff's Office from Kentucky. The end of watch is 9/21 of 19 due to a heart attack. The second is Sergeant Tracy Vickers of the Florida Highway Patrol. End of watch is 9/27 of 19 due to an auto crash. And excuse me if I mispronounce this next name. The second is Deputy Sandeep Dhaliwal of the Harris County Sheriff's Office from Texas. The end of watch is 9/27 of 19 due to gunfire. Another one is Officer Brian Mulkeen from NYPD. The end of watch is 9/29 of 19 due to gunfire. And then another one is Officer Derek Bishop of NYPD. End of watch is 9/19 of 19 due to a 9/11 related illness. Now, I'm not sure how the website works, the Officer Down Memorial page, but I couldn't find the 6, so maybe they didn't update it yet, or maybe that information didn't get transferred over, but we also want to recognize that hero as well.
Man, so, my heart goes out to these families, especially I think it was Deputy Sant Dhaliwal. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but the way he died, and not to take away from anybody else's death, but the way he died was just horrific. It was tragic, and I believe he had 2 or 3 young children as well and a wife. And so, nobody. So, this is a good transition, man. Hey, get the podcast insurance out. We gonna need the podcast insurance, man, because I've been having a lot of stuff on my chest, on my heart. So make sure, hey Billy, we got the podcast insurance ready. We're gonna probably lose some followers, but you know what? I don't care. So here we go. We're gonna get right into our passion episode. So the reason I bring that up is because we had somebody recently on our Instagram, or my Instagram page, say that police work is not even that dangerous. And so before I even go any further, if you do look up most dangerous jobs, police work is probably down the list. Matter of fact, I can probably look it up right now. Hold on one second. Most dangerous jobs. I'm gonna look it up. Forgive me. We can do this because it's a podcast. Y'all family, so it's most dangerous jobs. Y'all not gonna crucify me because I'm looking up stuff right now. So it says the 34 most dangerous jobs in America: farmers, ranchers, and agricultural managers, drivers and sales workers and truck drivers, structural iron steel workers. And so the list goes on. And then police officers are on the list, but they're down the line a little bit. But what I want to get at is, you got to understand something. Out of all those dangerous jobs out there, a lot of them are like, I think one of them is like, what are those fishermen, the guys that go out there and do like the deadliest catch type stuff? Yeah. You know what I mean? And tree loggers and stuff like that, they're on the list. The difference between all those jobs is that when they show up to work, they're dangerous because a mistake may have been made, an accident happens, they fall, the boat, turns over, whatever it may be, and something tragic happens and they lose their life. The difference between our job is that we go to a job where people legitimately want to kill you. There's a reason why we wear a bulletproof vest to work. It's because there are people out there that legitimately want to kill us.
Yep.
And so for you to say that we don't have that dangerous of a job, my claim to you is, why don't you put a bulletproof vest on and come do our job then, if it ain't that dangerous?
Right.
Now you may say, oh, well, you know what? I don't want to I don't want to be a police officer. I don't need to. That's not my. Then if that's not what you want to do, then shut your mouth. And this is coming from somebody who didn't like police officers. But I'm telling you right now, don't sit here and say that we don't have a dangerous job, because I'm sure if you went and told the families of some of these people that lost their lives to somebody that just wanted to go out and kill an officer, I'm sure if you told them that this job wasn't that dangerous, I'm sure they would beg to differ, because they were not planning for their husband or their wife to go to work and get shot because somebody else was having a bad day. Now, granted, this is the same person that always tells you that not every single police officer is good. I understand all that. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit here and say that every police officer is good, because there's some police officers that shouldn't be officers. But I am telling you that I still do a job where, in the back of my wife's mind and my kid's mind, I may not come home because somebody doesn't want me to come home. That's the difference between our job and some of those other so-called dangerous jobs. So not to take away and say that those other jobs aren't any dangerous, but the difference is that nobody's actually trying to kill them while they're at their job. So that just, man, that just really got underneath my skin, because I'm sure Deputy Dhaliwal's family is not sitting here saying, yeah, police work ain't that dangerous. No, they know exactly how dangerous it was, and he paid the price that day.
Right. And two things. The first thing is, name another profession aside from the military where people are actively trying to kill you just because of what your profession is. Now, I already know what people are going to say. That's why there's two things to this. People are going to go, well, people want to kill dentists and people want to kill doctors. And I get that. But I'm talking the amount of people who want to and attempt to and do kill police officers in comparison to other professions is astronomically different. And the second thing that is just going to shut down that whole argument is, say someone does go into a doctor's office and they start shooting people. Who's going to run in that doctor's office and stop that person from killing people? Us. Us. Like we are. So look, like Ryan said, listen, we rock with y'all. We love y'all, y'all family, but miss me with that. Miss me with that. I don't care if you don't like police officers. You have respect the game. Respect the game. If you don't got the heart to put that badge on and run towards the gunfire and risk your life for complete strangers, not only complete strangers, but people who do not like you and would watch you die and do nothing about it, then miss me with that.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. It's like, everybody wants to find a reason to say, it ain't that dangerous, or, it ain't as dangerous as y'all say it is. But yet, it's funny, you won't even come. It's the funniest thing to me is like, I'll ask somebody to come on a ride along. And I think you brought this up before, AJ. You tell them to come on a ride along, and they be like, am I going to get a police vest? Like, if it ain't that dangerous, why do you need a police vest? If it ain't that dangerous, why do you need a police vest?
Right.
And so it's like,
where my gun at?
Exactly. And so when people are at home at night sleeping all peacefully and stuff starts popping off, one of the so we have a Ring doorbell at my house. I love that thing. The Ring doorbell is phenomenal. Yeah. Ring is killing the game. They are literally killing the game. But one of the things that comes with that Ring doorbell is it also is like a social media app, and it tells you about all the stuff that's going on. Like if there's a theft here, there's a robbery here, a burglary here. So people are constantly on there talking about, what's going on. And then I'll read it sometimes, and they'll say, oh, there's a crazy person in the area. Make sure you're safe and stuff like that. Make sure you lock the doors. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like, who do you think is going to go deal with all that? Like as everybody, as everybody's hunkering down, as everybody's locking doors, somebody has to go deal with it. It's not like they're going to deal with it themselves. It's not like the thing is just going to go away. And so somebody has to deal with that, and most people won't because they're afraid to. Rightfully so, because it's not natural behavior for you to just be okay and not be scared of dealing with something. But yet somebody has to go deal with it. So you can, like you said, man, miss me with the whole, police work ain't that dangerous. But I hate when people say that. I hate when people say that because they're saying it and they have no context, no anything to say. All they're saying is based on what lists say of what's more dangerous than others. You know what I mean? And you can't base it off of what a list says, because at the end of the day, I know before I start my shift, I have to pull a bulletproof vest on, and it's not so I can look cool and look like the dudes in the movies. I put a bulletproof vest on because I know that there's people out there that want to take my life or take my partner's life, and therefore I have to protect myself from getting killed or trying to, live or survive because somebody else wants to go cause somebody else chaos. So miss me with the whole, police work ain't that dangerous, because, man, I'm telling you, that literally irked my nerves the other day, man. I can't tell you how bad it did, man.
Issued a bulletproof vest. You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, what other, literally, think about that. What other profession are you issued a bulletproof vest aside from the military?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll wait.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know of one. Like, what's that telling you, right? Like, when you become a firefighter, you're issued like fireproof gear. Why is that? Because there's a good chance you're going to go into a fire. You're going to need this, right? Like when you join certain professions, you're given certain things because something might happen or because you're going to need it. When you become a police officer, you're given a bulletproof vest for one reason.
And you know what? And let's not even just talk about, let me transition real quick, because let's not even just talk about the dangers of what other people want to do to you. Like, what about the dangers of your mental health? Let's talk about the dangers of your health. Because think about it. Let's say I am a fisherman and I go out there and I'm on deadliest catch. Yeah, there's some dangers out there. Yeah, the ocean gets real choppy and stuff. But at the end of the day, when you dock that boat and you go home and you start chilling, eating dinner or eating your fish that you caught, I guarantee you're not thinking about some of the things that you just saw on your ship or what's going on, what happened while you're out there at fishing for fish or whatever. But in our job, think about the long-term dangers of all the things that we have to experience on a day-to-day basis. Like all the things that we have to process, all the death that we see, all the mental health that we see, all the suicides that we see, all the emotional abuse that we see, domestic violence that we see. Like those are all things that we see on a day-to-day basis, and that stuff constantly can eat at you if you're not prepared for like how to deal with it. So that is also dangerous as well. You know what I mean? So
just had this conversation last night. Just had this exact same conversation last night with my buddy who's in town from Boston, and we were talking about police work. And I'm like, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say this with confidence. I think that being a police officer is the most dangerous job because of everything that's involved with being a police officer. And you hit the nail right on the head. It's just not, hey, people want to kill you because you're a police officer, right? No, it's everything that we see. It's the suicide rate. It's the alcoholism rate, like becoming an alcoholic. It's the divorce rate. I mean, like all these numbers are extremely high for the profession. And when you calculate all those numbers together, it's alarming. It is alarming.
It's crazy. And you know what? I bet you these lists don't even have that part of it calculated into why police work is so dangerous.
Right.
They probably only calculate, you know, or base it off of who's actually been killed in the line of duty, but they're not actually talking about the other mental health factors. They're not talking about the suicide. They're not considering any of those other factors. So I agree with you a whole totality, or I agree with you wholeheartedly on that situation. Are you there? My bootleg internet connection. Don't make fun of me, dog. Oh man.
But no, I agree with you. I agree.
So transitioning, man. So one of the things that's been heavy on my heart, other than just the whole police work ain't that dangerous, we all recently saw what was in the news this past week with Amber Geiger in the situation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna briefly break it down without getting into the specifics of it, because I want to dissect this a little bit and tell you guys why it got underneath my skin. So about a year ago, I think AJ and I talked about this when it happened. There was an officer, Amber Geiger, who actually was in the state of Texas, and she was coming off of her shift, going home. She lived in an apartment building. She got off on the wrong floor, walked to what she believed was her room. When she walked to the room, the door was open, or it was ajar. She pushes the door open. She sees somebody inside. She thinks somebody's breaking into her house. She ultimately uses her service weapon, shoots 3 times. She shoots Botham. What's his last name again? Payne, or I can't remember what his last name was, but she kills the victim Botham in his own apartment. And so obviously there was this huge uproar about what happened, why she did what she did. Fast forward, they just had the court hearings on it. They found her guilty of murder, which that's the story for a different day. The laws are different in Texas than they are in any other state. If that's news for you guys, and for educational purposes, police work is different from a law standpoint, state to state. It's not, there's a lot of, we have case law that kind of governs police work in a totality, but then state to state you might have ways that laws are charged differently. And so they charged her for murder. I personally believe it should have been a manslaughter just based on the way California laws are written, but again, that's a story for a different day. Anyways, they charged her for the murder. She got convicted. They issued her a sentence of 10 years, and so she'll be serving 10 years in federal state prison. This is where things get a little bit dicey, and this is what was firing me up. So when she was convicted and when she was actually sentenced to the 10 years, you actually see the victim the brother's victim ask the judge and make the request to give her a hug. So he goes to give her a hug. As he gives her a hug, they hug for about like 2 to 3 minutes. You can see there's some type of verbal exchange. You're also going to see that at some point during the hearing, the judge actually gives the suspect a hug. And then at one point in time, you actually see one of the jail deputies or the custodial deputies that's in there as Guyger sitting in her chair. She's actually like fixing her hair. So there was a lot of outlash and backlash that came out behind that. One of the things that kind of got underneath my skin, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. I'm just giving you guys background because I want to set the stage for what we're going to go into right now. But I saw a comment on one of the posts that I made. It said, "This is whack, man. We are the most forgiving race. This is why we get taken advantage of the most. If it was the other way around, no way 10 years is the sentence no way 10 years is the sentence, or the family is hugging if the shooter was black." So this is what upsets me about that. Man, first and foremost, we wonder why there's this huge division with law enforcement in the community. And not only that, but we wonder why our country is just at arms right now about every issue that's going on right now, whether it be border patrol, whether it be, illegal aliens coming in, whatever it may be. We're up at arms with people. And we've said this so many times, AJ, that one little simple act of kindness, a simple act of forgiveness can go a long way.
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand, is how is the victim's brother gonna be able to forgive the person that killed his brother, but yet somebody that's not even involved in any way, shape, or form can't forgive that person, or can't even at least just say, you know what, that takes a strong person to do that. but yet they say, why is he offering forgiveness to that person when he should be doing that, whereas black people, we keep doing this and keeps putting us down? I don't understand that. Like, how can you not forgive that person, but yet the person that's directly impacted by this the most can forgive that person? And so I want to talk about this subject matter of forgiveness, because you know what, like, this isn't just limited to this case. Like, this isn't just the Amber Geiger case. This is way bigger than that. Like, and the other part about it was, you're mad at the judge. And like, now granted, I don't know anything about this judge. I've never met this judge in my life, but who's to say that this judge hasn't hugged other criminals or prisoners before? This could just be her thing. Like, she can be out there hugging people all the time, but yet you see her hugging this Amber Geiger on TV, and so now all of a sudden you think that she's offering her a level of, you know, precedence over anybody else because she's a police officer and because she's white. You don't know anything about this judge, and granted, the judge was black. So my point is like, you're getting upset at this lady for extending grace and mercy, which is biblical principles that's taught to us. And granted, if you don't follow biblical principles, I get it, but that's why I follow Jesus Christ, is because I understand there's a certain level of grace and mercy that we should have for people. So you're getting on this judge for doing that, but yet you don't even know who this judge is. And the funny thing is like, I've arrested many people before. I've taken many people to jail. I can't tell you how many people I've forgiven in the backseat of my car. I can't tell you how many people I prayed with in the backseat of my car. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and had conversations as if we were boys in the backseat of my car. But if something was on the national spotlight, you would automatically assume like, oh, you're giving this dude's preferential treatment, not even knowing that this is just a part of who I am. So you want to crucify and cast stones at this judge. You want to crucify and cast stones at the girl that's fixing this girl's hair, not even knowing anything about it. And then you want to make Amber Geiger the poster child for all this police injustice when what she did was a legitimate accident. Should she have gone to jail? Yes. Should she have been in trouble? Yes, of course she should. She killed somebody in their own home. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying that what her actions were justifiable, because they weren't justifiable by any means necessary. But at the same time, don't make her the poster child for all this police injustice that's been going on when this had nothing to do with, you know, anything that she did. She made a mistake, an honest mistake. And she's being punished for that honest mistake. But don't try to sit here and say like, oh, this is racial now. She didn't even know the dude. So I'm sorry, man. You know, get the podcast insurance ready, because we're gonna lose some followers after this one. But I don't care.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it. Get the podcast insurance ready, because we gonna break this down and we gonna get deep with this, because I once again I just had this conversation. I've had this conversation every day since it has happened, but I had a really deep conversation yesterday with a really good friend of mine. So we'll rewind a little bit. When the whole incident happened with his brother, where he asked if he could hug her. He hugged her. He said he forgives her. He said that he loves her. And then he took an opportunity to potentially bring a soul into the kingdom of Christ, right? So, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. My bad.
Okay, my bad.
Listening to you. My bad.
So I posted a video. I seen the video. I'm like, man, this is powerful. And for me, it was powerful for a lot of different reasons. So I'm like, I'm gonna post this. People need to see this. This message is powerful. So I posted. It blew up on Instagram and Facebook. People were commenting, and the comments were in line with what you were saying, right? There were a lot of people of color or minorities who were saying, you know what? This needs to stop. Like, we're the only race that feels we need to forgive everyone, and we're extremely apologetic, and if the roles were reversed, it would be different, and you know, X, Y, and Z. And this is my biggest issue with that is, I'm not saying I completely disagree with you, but what I am saying is, so what? Just because somebody else is doing something wrong does not mean that you should put yourself in their shoes and continue that behavior. I mean, at what point do we forget Dr. Martin Luther King when he stood on the stage and said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Right? Like, at what point do we forget that? But we're so up in arms when it comes to this beautiful incident. And I'm not talking about the verdict. I'm not talking about the incident. I'm not talking about the officer fixing her hair, the judge giving the Bible, none of that. I'm talking about the opportunity where this man's own flesh and blood, his own brother, took opportunity to go, you know what? I hold no grudge. I forgive you. I love you. I want the best for you because I know that's what my brother would want for you. And the best is you committing your life to Jesus Christ. To me, that's what it's about. And it's even more powerful because it's still fresh, like extremely fresh. And he's already like, you know what? I forgive you. I forgive you. And then he just recently went on Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil asked him about it. He goes, why did you do that? And he goes, I didn't want to walk around with that burden. I didn't want to walk around with that hate, the weight on my shoulders, just knowing that I hate somebody. I wanted to forgive him. And that's his choice. And you want to get so up in arms and you want to make it something that it's not. Don't take this beautiful moment and try to drag it through the dirt with everything else that's going on in this world. That's what happens so many times with police-related incidents in general. A police officer will do something that's just beautiful in nature, and people will grab it and they'll try to destroy it. Well, why is that police officer doing that? He needs to be out arresting people, or he only did that because of that. He knew the camera was rolling. Like, shut up. Shut up. Why are you throwing dirt on this beautiful moment? Like, at what point are you fully going to embrace, like, you know what? This is what the world needs to be. This is what the world needs to be. If the roles were reversed, would it be different? Who knows? I'm not no time traveler. I can't change the outcome of what happened. But what I can say is that a beautiful thing happened. Embrace it and learn from it and keep it pushing.
But see, and that exactly proves my point of what I've said in the past is like, I would always say in the past, like, you know, because there's so many people that can't stand Donald Trump. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys whether I endorse Donald Trump or I don't endorse Donald Trump, because that's not, that's the story for a different day. Exactly. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people that don't like him. And so I would always throw out this argument, like, let me ask something. Like, if Donald Trump were to go out there and feed 1 million kids, you know what I mean, and go out there and take 1 million people off the street, you know, and just give everybody $1 million, you know what I mean, there would still be people out there that say, well, how come he didn't give them $1,000,001? How come he gave them Jack in the Box instead of giving them McDonald's? Like, there is just people that just don't care. Like, they're always going to try to find a reason of why something is bad. And this was a prime example of that. Like, the girl, she made a mistake, but yet it was a mistake that cost somebody her life, and it was a mistake that she's going to have to pay for 10 years. But yet you still have people that weren't happy saying, like, oh, she should have got more, and she should have got this. And then there's also the people saying, like, you don't ever see nobody out there giving somebody a hug. Well, yeah, I'm not going to go out there and give nobody a hug that's out there that just went out there and robbed somebody and, you know what, and just killed somebody in the commission of a robbery. Do they deserve forgiveness just as much as she does? Yeah, they deserve forgiveness. But at the same time, there's a difference. This chick made a legitimately honest-to-God mistake. Now, to talk about tactics and what she did, it was terrible. Like, I don't know what the heck she was thinking. And I don't want you guys to think that she's a great person either, because there's a lot of stuff that came out that she had text messages and social media posts. She was lying. So don't get me wrong. Like, she definitely ain't no good person. But at the end of the day, last time I checked, we were all humans. What perfect person do you know other than Jesus Christ? None of us. So again, I can't sit here and cast judgment on the way that she lived. Is she somebody that I would kick it with? Probably not. Is she somebody that I would get along with? Probably not. But at the same time, when it all came out, she made a legitimately honest-to-God mistake is what it sounds like. She was charged for that, as she should, but yet you still have people upset in arms. So at what point is what the punishment they gave her, at what point are you going to sit here and say, yes, we're good now? Because they would still find something that they're not right with. And I guarantee you, I'm 100% sure on this one, that the naysayers that were criticizing my man for giving her a hug, the naysayers that were criticizing the judge for giving her a hug, the naysayers that were getting on the lady for wiping her hair out of her face, those same people, I guarantee you, wouldn't tell that victim's brother, like, hey, you're wrong for doing that. I guarantee you when they wouldn't tell him that. Like, I guarantee you would not walk up to Botham's brother and be like, hey, dog, you shouldn't be doing that. Because he's the only one, he and his mom and dad are the only ones that are directly impacted by this situation. They have a certain level of empathy and things that they got going on in their life that only they're experiencing. So you're not going to walk up there in cold blood and be like, you shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong, dog. Because you're not even directly impacted by it. So who are you to say how he should feel and what he should or should not do? Who are you to tell the judge what she should and should not do? So now, at this point, now the judge can't go out there and give hugs?
Right. Absolutely. So I'm gonna make this statement, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. I think this case was extremely powerful because I believe it shows where we are at currently as a country. And let me tell you why I say that before you respond to it. And keep in mind, I just had a conversation with a really good friend of mine who is extremely knowledgeable and extremely passionate about this case as well. And this is the conversation we had. Here's why I feel that way. When it first happened, it immediately turned into a black versus white thing. It immediately turned into a police versus minority thing. So it happens, all this stuff come out. A majority of people who are not in law enforcement or not related to law enforcement believe that there was no way that she was going to be convicted, especially of murder. Let me see what else. It happened in Texas. She was convicted and she received 10 years. So let me tell you why I believe this is where we're at as a country. As soon as the incident happened, people didn't immediately go, man, this female killed this guy who was innocent. People immediately went, this white woman killed this black man for no reason. Then people immediately went, this police officer killed this minority for no reason. That shows where we're at as a country right now. Despite the circumstances, despite the details, more times than not, that's what things turn into, right? Mm-hmm. Like even the moment where his own brother said, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to potentially bring this soul into the kingdom of Christ. People immediately turned it into those two things, right? So another thing is this happened in Texas, all right? Everyone who lives in the United States knows how Texas get down. I don't got no issues with Texas. I got homies that live in Texas. Even people who live in Texas know how Texas gets down. She got convicted of murder in Texas. So for everybody out there who's saying police officers can do no wrong, white people aren't held accountable for their actions, she was convicted of murder in Texas and given 10 years. Shows where we're at and it shows where we're going as a country, right? Like we've come a long way. The third thing, I already touched on a little bit. She got 10 years. Now, I'm gonna open up the box. All right, it's about to get deep. I'm gonna open up the box.
I'm ready.
If someone walks into I love my brother. I got a big bro. I look up to him. He's my role model. He's my idol. He's a big reason why I made it out of the hood and am the person that I am today. With that said, if he was in his living room, somebody walked in there and killed him for no reason whatsoever, in my heart, and I'm not perfect, I never claimed to be perfect, in my heart, I'm going to want them to get more than 10 years.
Of course.
Cop or not, you took my brother's life.
Of course.
You took my brother's life. That's why I believe when his brother did what he did and said he forgave her and loved her, that's why I thought it was such a powerful moment. Because I don't know if I would ever get to that point. I know I should. Like I know what the Bible tells me. I know what the Lord tells me. I just don't know if I have it in me to ever do that. And he did it immediately. So with that said, that also shows where we're at as a country, right? She killed somebody. She got 10 years. And if the court system is anything in Texas like it is here, there's a chance she's not going to do the 10 years. She's going to do 5 to 7. Right? It's also a federal prison, which is pretty cushioned, right? Like you get to watch TV, you got couch cushions and all of that. So I think this case is extremely powerful, and I think it will go down in the history books as an example that people use for years, just because it shows that things aren't perfect. It shows that there's still tension. It shows that police officers are being held accountable. But it shows that things aren't completely right yet. Right.
So I agree, man.
So how do you feel about that?
Man, so that is deep. So to start where you talked about where we're at as a country, man, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think one of the most frustrating things, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've never brought up race in situations. Like racism is still alive, and I'm not going to be the guy to say racism is not alive. Like racism is still alive in so many ways that we don't even realize. Like subconsciously, people do racist stuff and they don't even realize that they're doing it. There is certain privileges that certain people get because of race. And it's not just white people. That's the crazy thing about it, though. Like, if you think about it, it's not just white people that help white people out. Like, how many times, like, if you go into a place and you see somebody that, like, is a black dude, or, you know, if, like, I'm just going to use this example because I'm black. You know what I mean? But you see a black dude, you give the head bob to him, like, you saying what's up to him, you're doing that because you just automatically relate to him. You may not do that to the person that's the white guy, because you just, in your mind, you feel like, nah, I don't get down with him like that, just based on color of skin. So there's just certain natural things that are still alive, and on some levels it's deeper than others. Like, you know, so we can't sit here and say that it doesn't exist when it does. But here's my response to that part. I can't allow race to be something that hinders me gives me an excuse to move me forward in life. Like, I think sometimes we allow race to just say, oh, well, you know, I'm black, so I know I ain't getting it. You know what I mean? And then when I don't get it, just say, oh man, it's because I'm black that, you know, I never got the spot. You know what I mean? Even if that is the case, I can't let it stop me. Like, if anything, I need to let it motivate me and say, you know what, I'm gonna push forward. Like, it is what it is. It's a little bit of adversity, but whatever. It's gonna make me stronger as a person. So I think that's what we need to develop as a people, is instead of taking these as personal attacks to you, let it motivate you. Like, let it motivate you, put a chip on your shoulder to say, I'm going to go out there and exceed. But we can't always say that everything is about race, because that's the other, and we talked about this before, is like, unfortunately, we like to say everything is about race when everything ain't about race. Like, certain times, like, you might say it like, hey, they fired me because I'm black. When in all reality, nah, dog, like, you was showing up late. Nah, dog, like, you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. Nah, dog, your numbers start falling. Like, that's why they fired you. They didn't fire you because you were black, or they didn't fire you because you were Mexican. They didn't fire you because you were Asian. You just stop performing. So when you stop performing, it is what it is. They let you go. So we can't always say everything was about race. So in this situation, I mean, yes, immediately everybody looked at her being a white woman and then a black man. And it sucks because you have a situation that, like, if this situation never happened, it would be hard for me to imagine a situation like this happening. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if this would have never happened, I would never be able to imagine somebody goes into the wrong apartment and shoots somebody because they thought it was their apartment. Like, I'd be like, that sounds crazy to me. But it happened. You know what I mean? And so, and she legitimately, like, I've talked to a whole bunch of people since this happened, even some of my homeboys that are black, and they're like, yeah, man, like, when I lived in an apartment complex, I lived on the 3rd floor, and there's been times where I get off on the wrong floor because it looks identical on every single floor, and even the numbers are identical with the exception of one number. So if you're not paying attention, he's like, I tried to open the door, and I'm like, why the heck is the door not opening? And I realized I was on the wrong floor. So it's not like it's impossible. It was like a perfect storm where you have a white girl, a black guy's chilling in his own house. She happens to be a police officer. It's like a perfect storm. And then now we have this situation. So as where we are in America right now, yes, I do think it identifies that people are always going to bring things back to race and gender, minorities, whatever it may be. Like, that's where we're at. The other part is, yes, it does identify, like, we have a long way to go. Like, there are people in this world, there are people that are incarcerated right now that should have not got 100 years or 50 years or 60 years for the offense that they committed. You know what I mean? Like, there are people that were there are also people that are incarcerated right now that should not be incarcerated. There have been many cases of people being falsely identified, falsely arrested, and gone to jail and spent a lot of time in there, and they never even did the crime. So we can't sit here and act like that doesn't happen, because it does. And so because of that, we also have to recognize that, and we can't sit here and say the system is perfect, because we know the system's not perfect. I know the system's not perfect. And so for those of you guys that are naive enough to think that we have a perfect justice system, you're naive in thinking that, because we don't. And it's been proven. And so, yes, I do believe that maybe the situation would have been different. Maybe if her skin color was different, maybe if she was a male, I don't necessarily know she would have got 10 years. I think she would have probably got more time. And as you said, look, like, if it was my brother or my sister, I would want them to get more time. Like, you know what I mean? But that's when it goes back to this forgiveness piece. It's like, that's why it was so powerful to me, because the mere fact that he was able to sit here and forgive her was an act of God. Like, it was a complete act of God, because that can't come from just me, Ryan Tillman, said, okay, I forgive you. I was just having this conversation with my wife this morning. And the only way we're going to be able to improve things as a country is we need to work on forgiveness every day. And that's how you're able to do that. Because if you work on forgiveness every single day, when you get to that situation where you feel like you've been wronged, since you've been working on forgiveness every single day, it makes it that much easier to forgive, because you know how much you've been forgiven. Like, I know that God has forgiven me for all types of stuff. And so I can't sit here and say I'm going to pick and choose of what I want to forgive and what I don't want to forgive. Trust me, I know, bro. I've had so many haters in so many different ways. And even though they still irk my nerves, even though they still get on my nerves, I still have forgiveness in my heart. I'm not going to treat them any differently because, I'm going to know they're a hater, but I'm not going to hold it over their head. And so the only way we're going to improve as a society is that we have to realize is that forgiveness is something you have to work on every single day, because if you're ever in that position that guy was put in, that's the only way that you're going to be able to conjure up enough inside you to say, I forgive you, because his forgiveness didn't start that day. I guarantee you, if you look at his track record, I guarantee you that was not his first time he's forgiven somebody on something serious, because that's the only way. So that's what we got to look at from here is like, man, how can, like, in your personal life, what are you going through? Like, I just had a conversation with a really good friend of mine this morning, man. And like, we had got into some stuff, just some stupid petty stuff, man. Like, just been some really petty stuff. And we were getting into it. And so for like 3 or 4 months, man, we haven't really been that cool. And so I ran into him and like, we talked it out. We realized what the situation was. We realized how petty it was. And bro, like, once we said we good, once I said I'm sorry, once he said he was sorry, I'm good, bro. Like, I have no more weight. But we don't have. But there's a lot of people that will be like, nah, bro, I'm not even gonna approach that dude. Like, I knew as soon as I saw him, I knew, okay, you know what, right now I'm about to talk to him, and I'm not about to leave this situation, leaving it more hostile than what it was before. I'm gonna tell you that I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you that I forgive you. Now, if you still feel a certain type of way, then that's on you. But I know at least how I feel. I know I got everything off my chest. And so that's how we start, moving forward in life, is that we have to start working on forgiveness every day. So me and that homeboy I'm talking about, we good now. Like, I have nothing. I feel like we gone back to just how we were before. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where, like, you're 100% right. Is like, that was a snapshot of where we are in America today. But like I told you before, I'm crazy enough to believe that we can still improve things, and we can still do 100% so much better, man. We have to. But if you're one of those people that were out there crucifying this man because he gave her a hug, if you're out there crucifying the judge because she gave her a hug, really do a heart check and ask yourself, when you do that heart check, ask yourself, do you really want things to change? Because if you really wanted things to change, your conversation might have been, man, we are moving forward. Right. Like, we've been oppressed for so long, and yet my man still found it in his heart to forgive this lady who he felt oppressed him. That's what your heart should have been like if you are really somebody that really believes in changing and wanting things to get better. But if that wasn't what your heart was, if your heart was like, man, that's stupid, this is ridiculous, then ask yourself, do you really want things to change? Because honestly, if you ask me, I'm gonna say you don't want things to change. You actually think it's cool to keep crucifying people. You actually think it's fun. You actually probably get off to that because you're like, oh yeah, I love this hostility. I love contributing to this. I love being an activist, when you don't even know what the definition of an activist is. So, that's my soapbox right there, man. Yeah.
So I want to take this opportunity to speak to everybody when it comes to this forgiveness topic. The first thing I want to say is, if you're a believer, right? If you're a believer, this applies directly to you. Matthew 6:14 through 15 says, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sin, your Father will not forgive your sins." I don't know how to make it more cut and dry than that. If you're a believer, now don't, once again, look, I had to take a breath before I said this. Miss me with your own skewed version of these verses, or the Bible in general, right? I've had people already make comments like, well, that's the white man's Bible and whatever. Listen, believe what you want to believe, but just know that you're playing with your soul. Just know that you're playing with your soul. When you make comments like that, or when you formulate these thoughts in your head, if you're comfortable with that, it's on you. Yep. The second thing that I want to say is, if you're not a believer, stop carrying around hate. It will destroy you. It will kill you slowly. And I'm speaking from experience. Look, for those of you who have listened to this podcast long enough, who've read my story, looked me up, whatever. My dad was abusive, crackhead, alcoholic. I watched him sexually assault my mom. He beat me. He threw me through drywall. Whipped my brother so bad he would bleed. We'd get in the tub. The tub would fill full of red water, right? Like, it was all bad. I hated that man for so long in my life. The moment that I finally decided to truly forgive him in my heart, it was like a boulder was lifted off my shoulders. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even think about the man half the time, right? I didn't even think about him. I would go days and days and days without thinking about him. But the moment that I was like, you know what? He was a good dad. He taught me everything what not to do. He taught me exactly what not to do when I have children, right? I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. I know where to keep you, right? Like, I know your characteristics, but I forgive you. It was such a weight taken off my shoulders. So I'm not just saying that to say it. I'm telling you that from experience because I care about you. So if you're not a believer, do it because it's healthy, right? Do it because stop. You letting this person live rent free in your head. Give it up. Give it up. Stop. Forgive them. Move on. Don't mess with them no more, right? You don't got to kick it with them. You don't got to be friends. Forgive you. I'm gone. If you're a believer, the Bible says it.
The Bible says it. So it doesn't get no clearer than that, man. Me, like I said, my wife and I, we had a discussion this morning about it. Like, and one of the things she brought up was, because, one of the things that my wife does is like, she'd be like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, but. Right. And so in her mind, she just chooses to forget about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you forget about it, it's kind of like, I'm good. Like, I've forgiven this person. Like, even though you really haven't. Because if you've truly forgiven the person, then you will really no longer think about it. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, if I've truly forgiven somebody, then I'm no longer going to think about it. But if I haven't forgiven somebody, it's always going to be there. And that's what it was like with my homeboy this morning. Like, I would tell myself, like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to hit him up or whatever it is. But it still bothered me because that's somebody that's close to me. I never forgave him. You know what I mean? Like, I never forgave him. And so, and vice versa. So it's still going to linger. So we can't realize, I think we as people start putting ourselves on soapboxes and we start saying that my sin is less than your sin. Like, we do this thing like I may go to the store and steal a piece of bubble gum, and you may go to the store and steal like, $100, iPad or something like that. And I'm like, well, my gum ain't as bad as that iPad that he got. But at the end of the day, we still stole something. So the point that I'm trying to make is we can't, as people, keep putting other people on pedestals and saying, well, I'm not as bad as him. Like, in God's eyes, we all bad. And it's funny because, and my wife's going to kill me, but she was like, well, just give me 10 minutes. And I asked her the question, I was like, let me ask you this. You think God says, give me 10 minutes and then I'll forgive Ryan?
Yeah, right.
Now, granted, I ain't God. Like, it ain't easy. It ain't as easy as we say it's going to be. I don't want you guys to think that this is easier said than done, because it's not. But you really have to look at it, because the only way you're going to be able to move forward and take steps is you have to legitimately put yourself in these shoes and think about it from this way. Like, God don't, like, if I do something, God ain't going to be like, man, give me a day or two and then I'll think about forgiving you.
Right.
Like we would like to do as human beings. Like, that's what we naturally do. Like, hey, no, give me a couple weeks and I'll see. Yeah. Like, we can't be like that. And so we really want to move forward as a people, man. We just got to say, you know what, man, I forgive you. And if that takes you calling that person to just say, hey, man, I forgive you, you know what I mean? Then good. If it takes you just, shooting them a text message, hey, we ain't got to talk, just want you to know I forgive you. Whatever that is for you, I don't know what that is for you, but just do it. It's going to give you freedom, and it's going to take you into another place in your life. And until we get to that place as humans, we're not going to move forward. And it was just disgusting. If you guys don't know this, when I posted that video on Instagram the other day, I was texting AJ back, and it was late. It was probably like almost midnight your time, right?
Yeah, it was super late. Yeah,
it was like me and AJ were texting each other back, and I was disgusted. I'm like, bro, are you reading some of these comments? Like, these comments are just nasty. Like, do you really want to move forward? Because the way you talking, it don't seem like you do. And so, off our soapbox, man, I think we can, we got the podcast insurance. And so, I don't care about losing folks if this offends you in any way. But it is what it is. We're going to speak from the heart, man. And not only are we going to speak from the heart, I try to say that I try to delight myself in God, the Lord, every single day. So that way I have his heart. So just know that when I'm speaking, it's not coming from a place of, being disgruntled or angry. It's coming because this is the passion that God has given me and AJ about, trying to change the world. So, man, anyways, man, where we at in time, Billy? 59, man. We like
on the dot,
bro. We like
got this down.
Man, we professionals at this thing, man.
We got this down.
So, hey, this podcast is being brought to you guys by the one and only Breaking Barriers United. Big things coming for all of us, man. Me, AJ, Savage, my boy Sean is here in the building. Man, we got some crazy things coming, man. It's unreal. It is unreal. So, and we not just saying that. We're like, I'm not just gonna sit here and give y'all that earful just to say it. We really do got some big things coming. So
yeah, we cooking up legitimate change, change. Like not just exciting news. Like we talking about legitimate, tangible change.
Hey,
so
and check it out. We coming up on October. So this time last year was when we started to plan the It's Needed conference. So we're gonna start planning that again. We got to pick locations for that, so we got to figure out where we want to do that at. So good stuff coming, man. Any last parting words, man? Any nuggets that you got for the audience, AJ, as we get ready to bounce up out of here?
Man, I think this whole podcast was a nugget, to be honest with you. Just if you're listening to this, really think about it. Like before you go to bed at night, really think about like people that you are holding grudges on, and truly find forgiveness in your heart, and then get back with me after you truly forgive that person. Get back with me personally, shoot me a message, and just let me know how you feel, just because I want to know. I truly do, and I know how you're gonna feel. I just want to verify it. So make it happen.
I guess my last parting words will be, man, what's your purpose, man? What's your purpose in life? Like, is your purpose in life really to just go troll the internet and just give your 2 cents in about what your opinion is, and just once you get done trolling, go eat some Frosted Flakes and just let the world go by? Is that your purpose? And I'm not, and if this is you, so you can take it how you want it. You can take it as a personal attack, or you can take it as like, dang, that fool was literally just described my life. Like, is your purpose to go sit at home, go to work, get on the internet, troll a little bit, let people know your feelings, and then just go back to living your regular day-to-day life? Like think about that. And so my plea with you is, find out what your purpose is. Like, I would respect you so much more if you left a comment and then I saw you doing something because you valued that comment so much that I can actively see you making a change or doing something because you're that passionate about what you got to say. But if you ain't that passionate about what you got to say, then why don't you just stop talking? Straight up. Like that's what it comes down to. Like, stop talking. Like, if you are that passionate about it, but yet you don't go out and do nothing about the things that you want to see, then just stop talking. And I can sit here and tell you that because, like, I'm out here. Everything I tell you guys, if you guys looked at my track record, you guys can see that what I tell you guys, I'm actually implementing in my day-to-day life. Like, when I say I'm trying to change the face of modern day policing, you see me in schools teaching kids and talking to kids about changing modern day policing. When I tell you guys that I want to hire better officers out there, it's not that I'm just saying that. You see me actually going out there. We're about to start making a recruiting video here pretty soon so we can hire better officers out there. When I tell you guys that I want to bridge the gap between people of the community and people within law enforcement, you see me out there doing after-school programs where I put police officers in the classroom so that way we can change that stigma. So this is coming from a person that's actually putting, some action behind his words. And so the last thing I got to say, man, is this. It's football season, right? It's football season. Most people watch football, right? A lot of people watch football. But how many times have you watched a football game, sat down, and you sit next to all these people that say what the quarterback should have done? You got people saying what Tom Brady should be doing. Tom Brady is arguably the best quarterback that's ever lived. And you got people saying Tom Brady should be throwing to the right side instead of the left side. You got people saying Tom Brady should have ran a dive play instead of throwing it up top. Tom Brady is arguably the best quarterback that ever lived, and yet we got people watching on Sunday saying what Tom Brady should have did. You know what? There's a reason you're sitting on your couch, and there's a reason why he's in the game. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. There's a reason why you're on your couch and my man is in the game. So unless you get in the game, then you might want to watch what your words are saying out there. Because I don't care. I don't want you guys to think that I'm all caught up in my feelings, because this is not me being caught up in my feelings. If anything, I love what I do. I'm secure in what I do.
We chopping it up.
But I'm just trying to let you know that the way your actions are perceived, you might want to be careful. So that's all I got to say, man. The nugget of the day, man, find your purpose. Go out there. Every single one of us was gifted. We are all given a gift. You got to go out there, search what that gift is, and just go out there and make this world a better place. It sounds cliche, man, but let's stop talking about it. Let's be about it. Like, I encourage
There you
every
go.
single one of you guys. Lastly, if you are somebody that listens to our podcast, if you're looking for encouragement, people hit me up all the time saying, hey, I'm down in the dumps. I need some help. I don't know. I'm at my wit's end. You know what? Keep grinding. Keep grinding.
Keep grinding.
I was sitting in the sauna the other day, and I keep going off on my soapbox, but I'm sitting in the sauna, and as I'm sitting in the sauna, I'm like, man, it's getting hot in here. And so I start thinking about things. And so this is something I write notes. So I said, when you start to bleed, what's the first thing that you do? Like, if you start to bleed right now, what's the first thing that you do? Like, if you just start to bleed, like on your arm, what are you going to do?
Try to stop it from bleeding.
How do you stop it from bleeding?
Put a Band-Aid on it.
Or apply pressure, right?
Yeah.
You apply pressure to that bleed. Because
Right.
if you apply pressure, we know, doctors tell us, you apply pressure to that bleed, it's going to stop the bleeding. It's going to start a blood clot.
Right.
But what happens if you don't apply pressure?
You're going to bleed.
You're just going to keep bleeding out, right? So if you are in a place in your life right now where you feel like you just bleeding out, you need to apply a lot of pressure to that situation. Whatever that situation is, you need to apply pressure. You can't stop doing it halfway. You need to go in. You need to go 110. You need to apply pressure. You need to stop that bleed right now. And so you only know what you're going through right now. I don't know what it is, but you do. So stop going halfway. Apply pressure. And whatever that pressure is, if you are somebody that's overweight, if you overweight and you're like, man, like, I'm overweight and I can't lose this weight, well, you need to apply pressure to that situation. How do you do that? Stop eating a Twinkie. You know what I mean? Stop eating the Sonic's ice cream. You know what I mean? And I'm breaking it down because that's how you apply pressure. You need to go all in. We can't do this, back and forth. So apply pressure to the situation. If you want to get hired, figure out what you're doing wrong. Apply pressure to the situation. Stop the bleed, man. We'll see y'all on the next podcast. Good looking out. God bless, and we'll take care.
Peace.